Hello everyone and welcome to this very special Star Wars episode today. Yeah, it is very close to the new movie release and it is kind of the most fitting situation ever because you guys have been requesting another movie related build since the very beginning of the Planet of the Apes habitat I should say. And here it is, it's 1 month ago and we are in. And one pretty cool thing though, you can hear the music in the background, which is already, I think it is it's exactly the music from Star Wars, but it is from Epidemic Sound, so I can use it actually on my channel, which is pretty dope. But yeah, today we are going to build a creative habitat. This is a Dagobah inspired habitat where we are going to rebuild this area where Yoda is living and Luke is going to kind of crash into this little swampy area in Empire Strikes Back, and we are going to try to make this as nice looking as possible but yet workable as a habitat. So I should say at the very beginning, before we deep dive into this episode, obviously this habitat will not be realistic whatsoever, like not at all, like completely and without any doubt it's not gonna be a realistic zoo related habitat. And I think for everyone watching this episode, please do have this expectation in mind, because if you are here to expect a realistic habitat, you're wrong, because that's not what we're going to do. Every now and then I just need this creative outlet which allows me to do something completely out of the box. And well, since I do already have the tickets for the next Star Wars movie, which is going to be actually in cinemas this week, I am super excited for it, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the two modern Disney-made movies. I found The Force Awakens pretty okay. I hated The Last Jedi. I have to say it was a good cinematic experience when I was in cinema, but thinking about the movie afterwards made me realize that I really didn't like the movie, even though I loved the one scene where this kind of space, how you want to even call it, when in the end she used the spaceship and the jump into hyperspace to kill basically the whole fleet of the First Order. So that was pretty cool. That was cinematic wise one of the greatest scenes of all Star Wars, but it cannot take away from the overall not really great movie. Anyways, I don't want to talk about these movies. Obviously this is inspired by The Empire Strikes Back, which is the 5th episode of Star Wars, if you will, or for the original fans, the 2nd. But you know what I mean. And I'm going to build the X-Wing, and here's me already telling you, yes, you guys will potentially get this X-Wing as a blueprint in the workshop, even though in comparison to Planet Coaster I'm not really too sure what you guys would do with it, but I'm quite happy to say I will be able to upload it. It's not like piece-wise, it's not. And why the hell am I talking about this X-Wing already? Well, because you've seen it at the beginning and you've seen it in the thumbnail potentially, so yeah, it's not really that big of a surprise if you get it. Now, I have a lot of things I need to talk about during this episode, but I'm also willing to say that this was a very complicated build, because there are a lot of things that are missing from the Planet Coaster pieces you are used to having. So at the end of the day, I'm super happy with how the X-Wing turned out, but in comparison to what we were able to achieve in Planet Coaster at the end, I'm not too happy with it. So please bear that in mind. We have a lot of pieces that we are missing here. I should say, like, we don't have them pieces. That's the thing. So I tried to figure out a lot of things, and this is also why the time lapse today is super long. I am still thinking of having a little bit of a real-time part at the end, because it's very hard to show. And I also got some FPS issues, I must add, but I think it is because the forest I made at the end is just like the most dense forest you've ever seen in Planet Zoo made. It just, like, on a very, very small area, I just crammed in a million trees, it almost felt like, because I wanted to make this really Dagobah feel. And well, there at a later stage of this video I will talk about this a bit more, but I also needed to do some sacrifices here and there to make it really work. But I still think this habitat at the end looks pretty cool indeed, and it works pretty good indeed. And I will show it to you in real time then, so you guys really can see what it is. And also with it, hopefully I'll be able to provide you with the blueprint of this habitat, because that would be a huge thing. But now, obviously the question of the day is, do you guys like Star Wars? If so, what is your favorite movie? What is your favorite character? And what do you really hope will happen in the new movie? What will happen in The Rise of Skywalker? I am super excited for this movie, not only because I think J.J. Abrams was the better choice in terms of director in comparison to Rian Johnson, but overall because I wanted to see how the saga ends. Well, ends, I mean, we're talking about Disney, but for the moment, I should say, maybe, I don't know. But, you know, seeing actually following the series The Mandalorian at the moment, which I totally love, I have to say. I really love that they went the same way they did with Rogue One. So I am very happy about this. And I don't know, I really would love to believe that they learned from the mistakes they made, and they kind of bring this feeling and this original Star Wars feel into the new movie, and it can be a huge success. I'm still willing to believe. I haven't read any reviews so far. I haven't read any critiques. If there are any, I don't even know, or if they have hidden it away this time pretty nicely from the press, I don't know. But yeah, I just don't want to know anything in advance of the movie, like every spoiler whatsoever. I'm quite happy that I'm going very early on, so just I think 2 days after the initial release, which might be the 20th then. I don't know, I got tickets already, could easily look it up, but well, I'm too lazy. Now honestly, I really do appreciate that I am really early on in cinema, because spoilers are not the coolest thing. And I have to say one thing before we do a little break, at least in terms of my commentary, and I'll be back later at a later stage. I have to say my initial plan was to build not a habitat, but I wanted to build Baby Yoda as a statue. And I first off tried it as a wooden statue, because for those of you who know me from Planet Coaster, I had kind of an obsession for making wooden statues, and I tried to do the same, but I just felt like, okay, well, if I want to do it somewhat close to the release, it must be finished by, you know, mid of this week, coming week, and well, I wouldn't have been finished coming next 20 weeks, I guess, because that was just way too much. Then I tried to do it with the simple art shapes, and it kind of resulted into a big drama, because just they are too big. Way too big. Like, seriously. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I decided to go with this build over here. And I think I decided my decision was correct. My decision was good, because it turns out to be a lot more intricate, a lot more interesting to look at. And, yeah, I'm just very happy. Now, yeah, while we are building the X-Wing a bit more here in the background, and I need to talk a little bit more about this at a later stage, I'll leave you alone now with a bit of the music, and joining you in a few minutes again in the commentary. Enjoy! Alright, don't be scared, here I am back with my commentary. And yeah, we are still building on the X-Wing, and I have to quickly talk about the X-Wing itself, because obviously I know that the X-Wing is not 100% accurate. I tried to go for the episode 5 version of it, but I did a few design tweaks here and there to make sure that it fits with the Planet Zoo style. As I said, you know, I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to these builds, and I'm kind of used to all the Planko pieces, that I really found some things not turning out the way I wanted them to turn out, and so I decided I needed to do kind of an own version. So it is not, as I said, 100% accurate. I also kind of avoided doing R2-D2 in the middle, because not because I didn't want to. I will do this for the blueprint, but this crashed version, whatever is going on with my pronunciation here, the crashed version of this ship does not have R2-D2 in it, because R2-D2 obviously was then falling into the little mud area or in the swamps, and funny enough, we had this little monster situation there where R2-D2 got quickly eaten by it, but then also spit out again onto the gravel area, or whatever, it's soil, whatever it was. But this is the moment where I thought, okay, the animal that goes into this habitat is definitely like going to be a saltwater crocodile, because I felt like from the movement and from what it feels like, it came close to this little monster on Dagobah that you have in the actual movie. So I felt like this is a proper one. Yeah, talking about the habitat itself again, the animals, as I said already, they are not going to love it. They are really not going to love it because of all the different plants in there. Like, seriously, there will be a million plants later on to make it really look like Dagobah, or Dagobah, you know what I mean. I'm German, so when I watched the movies, obviously as a kid, I watched them very early on when my dad gave them to me, because, you know, I'm not born when those movies came out. I watched them later, so I grew up with having them all at hand already. So when I watched them, I was pretty young, and obviously I watched them in German. So this is where all the knowledge comes from in German. So over the course of the past couple years, I learned to get into the English stuff, but still not always pretty sure how it is pronounced and whatnot. But yeah, you can see it slowly is taking shape here, and I have to say the overall look and feel is really good. Like, I'm very happy with it. I cannot say that I'm disappointed about the build. I am just not 100% happy about it. It's just that I felt the detail at some point is lacking, because the texture of the pieces were not like the texture I wanted to have it like. It's hard to define, it's hard to describe, because it almost looks good. When you're looking at it right now, it looks good, but the problem is it just lacks a little bit of detail. You will see that later on. Okay, it is popping out a little bit too much from everything else, because everything else looks so good, because the textures are so damn fine and so good, but yeah, the X-Wing itself is unfortunately a little bit popping out. Now, okay. Now, as you can see that I'm putting down all the stones over here, which is for a good reason, I need to talk about the habitat itself. So if you guys want to download this one, again, I won't be able to give it to you today. It's a little bit of a tricky one. I have to see that it all works fine, and I have to put some habitat elements in, and it needs a little bit of tweaking, but I will provide you guys with this habitat during my advent calendar, I promise. So keep an eye on that one. I will release it during this time, and you guys will be able to enjoy this habitat. But yeah, I just need to make sure that it is really workable and doable. Also, I have to wait for the DLC, which drops on Tuesday, and I don't want, you know, the DLC to destroy it, because maybe changes to the game or whatnot. So give me those few days so I can finally do the final tweaking, so that this is actually usable. Now, what I had in mind is that the overall habitat for the saltwater crocodile is going to be that good that the negative effect of the plants is not making it too pissed, so that they are still having enough welfare to mate and live happy ever after in this habitat. Again, I'm just not a big fan of these plants and plant problems we have in the game. I am a big fan of the fact that you have to put in the right plants and that the game has it as a management option. I'm just not 100% happy with the way how the game treats the overall system, because the animals don't really care that much about the plants. If you go, for example, for like lions or other animals that live in basically on plains, they basically hate it when there are more than 2 trees, which is just not reality. I know what the game does it. I know that it is kind of important to have a system like that to make sure that there is somewhat of a suitable habitat for them, but maybe it could work a little bit better with more punishment for the wrong plants, and maybe also some other kind of regulations, at least that you have to fulfill the plant need a little bit more on a different scale. Because obviously, if you do a rainforest house or whatever, it has to be dense, it has to be really looking like a rainforest, and the animals don't mind, they actually even like it because they have more space to hide and more privacy. But if you just overdo it in the game, the animals really hate it. And this is kind of, a saltwater crocodile. Okay, I do get it. It's not always living in a forest, but it does live in some kind of swamps and whatever. And there are a lot of trees, guys. There are a lot of trees around, and they don't mind, I guess. I mean, they would be happier in general, but especially crocs, they just like to hide in the shallow water in some plants before they go after their prey. So at the end of the day, it's kind of doable. Anyways, one thing I wanted to talk about is also, at the very beginning, I did 2 habitats around each other, which is still the setup you can see right now in the time lapse. Problem being is I wanted to put some mandrills around because I wanted to make Yoda's hut over here as kind of the little shed for either the crocs and also the mandrills above each other, so that the mandrills can potentially climb in there. At the end, I decided to go for a mixed habitat, which this is something I totally forgot about that it could work, but honestly, it does work. So there is this notification going on. If you put mandrills into this habitat, it totally works because they can hide or they can just go away from the crocodiles. First of all, the mandrills are not going to go into the water, which is a good thing because the crocs spend most of the time in the water. But also the mandrills spend most of the time in the trees, which is pretty good. So what I did is I put the feeding station as well as the bedding and stuff in the air, so that the mandrills will rest and eat away from the crocs, and the crocs have all their stuff down in that area. So yeah, the next bit over here is that I needed to somehow get this building done in a way that the crocs can go in. I want to rebuild, not one by one, but at least get a little bit of a feeling of Yoda's little hut on Dagobah or Dagobah. So that you can really realistically see that this is not only the X-Wing crashed into a swampy area, but you really get this little feel. I do also know that, size-wise it's not accurate because Yoda's hut is not next to the crash side or landing side of the X-Wing. They actually went a little bit, and there are a few things that had to be changed according to making this habitat kind of workable. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm quite happy with how it turned out. The overall look and feel of this hut over here is not perfect, but I totally blame the lack of pieces here. I must, because there is really, I spent a whole bunch of time which I completely cut out. This is already I think I left in one more iteration of it with stones, but I think this building over here is already the 7th iteration of this hut building. Everything else I made, which looked far better, was not really traversable for the animals. And to be fair, this hut over here only works for the female crocodiles. The male crocodile cannot go in because the male crocodile has a hitbox like an elephant. It is insane. It's just freaking insane. You cannot believe how much space you need to leave before the croc can go in. Guys, really, this is one of the things I really would love that Frontier can tackle in the future, because, oh man, you always need these kind of shed areas which are so open, and they look so weird because you have to leave that much space until an animal can go in, which is especially a bigger issue with the with animals that have a wider radius in terms of rotation. And I guess that's the issue. When animals can rotate on a very small footprint, it also means that the traversable area is really easier to calculate. But especially crocs, the gharial, elephants, these animals and rhinos that have a huge radius to rotate, they have these kind of issues because the game always calculates the rotation radius as the minimum requirement for the openings of yeah, traversable areas, and hence this is what kind of yeah, drives me nuts, because it always leads to habitats having shelter areas that are way bigger than you would actually love to have them. And truth to be told, in actual zoos, you have more likely smaller entrances than bigger entrances, because they want to integrate that better in the landscape. But yeah, so you can see now I'm doing something very bad for the performance. So here's another warning: this area freaking lags if you are going into the animal overview. It is totally fine moving around, looking around and playing with it, it's totally fine. But if you look into the traversable area tab or in the animal requirement tab, holy heck, it's lagging like hell. And I believe this is because I spent so much time putting 1,000,000+1 trees in here. So it's kind of crazy. Now, yeah, we are getting towards the end of the time lapse, and I am putting in a little bit of a real-time part, because this is one of these habitats that need also some kind of yeah, showcase in the actual habitat itself. And then at the end you get some nice little cinematic shots, and then this is it. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this little Star Wars special habitat, and this is more or less the official announcement that I am continuing with these kind of movie or out-of-the-box builds. So this can be considered to be the second version, the second episode of movie habitat builds, which is Star Wars now. And if you have certain ideas for further stuff in the future, let me know in the comments down below. I would be more than happy to, yeah, just build some crazy stuff, you know. That's what I like to do sometimes. And yeah, make sure to let me know. Now I'll jump over into the real-time part and show you around. Alright guys, I really hope you guys put your night visions on, because we have to look at this habitat in freaking nighttime. I'm so sorry, I cannot use this as a cinematic or as a thumbnail, because it's not gonna look great. But look at that, look at the croc now swimming past this X-Wing. Oh, it's gonna climb over it, it always does it. It looks a bit weird though, but whatever. It's just, I would love it to be swimming around here. Maybe we have to move this stuff a bit to the side so the croc is swimming around. But look at all the mist, and look at the crash site. You know, one thing I did not do, I should have opened this area a bit, because that's where the X-Wing actually comes flying in, right? But never mind. So it can also be, yeah, maybe it came flying in here and it just turned around because of the movement of the water, which is actually not that unrealistic, to be honest. But yeah, that is how the Dagobah habitat looks from. And you can see, and you can tell also from the performance, it always, you know, it works fine. Like what I did over here to show you off from the outside. Oh my god, okay, this might be a bit too dark. Let me just at least change to a bit, wow, this is super bright. Okay, thank you, game. So from this view over here, also I'm gonna stop the rain. I'm gonna stop the rain quickly. Let's go back to no weather, and there you go. Should be stopping in a second. Oh god, it looks so gorgeous. Look just with the mist and stuff, and the fog. Oh god, I love it. By the way, this is kind of the bare bone version of it. I'm gonna tweak it a little bit more. You gonna guys? Right, yo, Rudy, come on. Gonna get this as well. A few more tweakings I have to do, because at nighttime this freaking glows, because I took some signs and I didn't know that they were glowing, because I haven't had power on here in the park. So yeah, you have to deal with that until I fix it. So I guess that's the main thing. But yeah, you can actually see how this looks now in daylight. It looks cool, definitely looks super cool. The problem being is that I mainly have the issue that this Dagobah scene is never actually bright or whatever. There you can see, by the way, Mendrel is living happy ever after in here. The crocs seem not to really care too much for it. You can basically, oh wait, I just need to unbox you. You can basically just have them in here as well. They also seem not to panic too much. Like the crocs are fine, but they not really go after it, because they can just hide in the trees and do. So it's kind of cool, to be honest. But yeah, just look at that. Let me just Ah, look at that, like with the croc here, it now goes into the water and gonna get far. The cool thing is they always swim over here. I do have to put some enrichment items in here before I release it to you, so I really have a reason to go here. The small or the female croc can actually go in here and rest in here. That's kind of cool. The male one simply doesn't, but yeah, at the end of the day, I really do like the way it is looking, because it really works out super well. And yeah, let me just pause the game here quickly. Now, what I did about this habitat is, so this outer ring here is only for me for the sake of cinematics and showing it off. It's not included, but if you click on the habitat, you can see this is basically oh, can I have an overlay, please? That shows me a bit more. Oh, well, it doesn't really show it that nice. So the habitat goes all the way around. So as soon as I'm gonna save it, you will have also the water barrier around, and you have all the trees and stuff included. So it really becomes this one little jungle-ish Dagobah scene. You can basically take I did some blueprint trees over here. Like these ones are custom made more or less to get the roots done. They don't look fantastic because of all this stuff coming up on the high up. Like mostly I tried to hide it away, but yeah, for the most time I couldn't. I just put this in, and it just felt a bit off, to be honest. But yeah, you can see this habitat is all about this model over here, which is also overgrown, having some lianes and stuff, some you know, vines hanging down, and you know, why is that though? Let me just, thank you. I don't know why I did this. So and also, this is not... What did I even do? Come on, Rudy. It was late. So, to my defense, it was super late. So, here we go. Fixed it. Now, yeah, it was all about this X-Wing coming to a crash site here. And, oh my god, let me just take a screenshot of that one. This looks fantastic. I even thought maybe getting this a bit deeper in, because the water is still too clean. I'm still waiting for the water to get dirty, but it just doesn't. I did not put down any of the systems here, and I did not turn down or put into the settings that should clean everything. So I was hoping that it's getting dirty for the sake of the video, but it just doesn't. So well, that's kind of an issue, but well, not that big of an issue. You can definitely tell that this build is all about the foliage, all about the scene, all about the feeling of Dagobah. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I really hope that you guys want to see more of it in the future. And yeah, now I leave you alone with some more cinematics. And yeah, just again as a reminder, daily question or question of the day is, what's your most favorite Star Wars film or movie? Which one haven't you seen potentially, or are you not even that much into Star Wars? I don't know, but what's your favorite one, and also what's your favorite character? All right, so that should be it from my side. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye guys. Alrighty guys, thank you for watching this video, I really do appreciate that. As always, make sure to check out also my social media channels, you can find me everywhere under @RudyRunCamo. Also big thanks to the crew, you can see it on the left hand side right now. And as always, if you want to see more, you click that card on the top right. And if you want to stick around because you like the stuff you just saw, whatever, you know what I mean, just click that sub button which is to the bottom right of the screen right now. But everything else I can say is have a great time and see you next time. Bye guys.